Yes, sir. The teacher then turns aside for a moment to give another answer to the cry of Arjuna over the sorrow of the death of kindred, to empty his life of the causes and objects of living. What is the true object of the Kshatriya's life and his true happiness? Not self pleasing and domestic happiness and a life of comfort and peaceful joy with friends and relatives, but to battle for the right is his true object of life, and to find a cause for which he can lay down his life, or by victory win the crown and glory of the hero's existence, is his greatest happiness. There is no greater good for the Kshatriya than righteous battle, and when such a battle comes to them of itself, like the open gate of heaven, happy are the Kshatriyas then. If thou dost not this battle for the right, then hast thou abandoned thy duty and virtue and thy glory, and sin shall be thy portion. He will, by such a refusal, incur disgrace and the reproach of fear and weakness and the loss of his Kshatriya honor. For what is worst grief for a Kshatriya? It is the loss of his honor, his fame, his noble station among the mighty men, the men of courage and power. That to him is much worse than death. Battle, courage, power, rule, the honor of the brave, the heaven of those who fall nobly. This is the warrior's ideal. The lower, to lower that ideal, to allow a smirch to fall on that honor, to give the example of a hero among heroes, whose action lays itself upon open to the reproach of bodies and weakness, and thus to lower the moral standard of mankind, is to be false to himself and to the demand of the world of its leaders and kings. Slain thou shalt win heaven, victorious thou shalt enjoy the earth. Therefore arise, O son of Kunti, resolved upon one battle.
Yeah. So here he is now telling him, first of all, he told him that your reaction is one of weakness. And then he is telling him what he should do. The teacher then turns aside for a moment. So he has given him the spiritual knowledge that the soul never dies. Okay, Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. He has told him very clearly that when killing the body, the soul does not die. It is not. It cannot be dried by the wind. It cannot be made wet by matter. It is cannot be burnt by fire. It is something eternal. So why do you grieve? Now he is giving him another side, not spiritual knowledge, but in the practical knowledge in the physical world. His swadharma, the duty of a, he has lowered his standards from spiritual to the physical world. And that's why Swami Singh turns aside for a moment, but only for a moment, because the Gita goes on to give deep spiritual knowledge. Then the teacher then turns aside for a moment to give another answer to the cry of Arjuna over the sorrow of the death of kindred, which will empty his life of the causes and objects of living. The object of living for most human beings is happiness, family happiness, okay, success in life, comfort. This is what normally people want. But is that the ideal for a Kshatriya? Rather, it's the opposite. Battle, courage, he is given all that later on, even death, glorious death in battle, because you are not going to die, but that's the ideal for a Kshatriya. So stand up and do your duty. That's what he tells you. And what is the true object of the Kshatriya's life? You are a Kshatriya. And what do you have to do? Don't forget your Swadharma. And his true happiness, not false happiness. The family happiness, your own comfort, these are all the not happiness for a Kshatriya. It's all right for a householder, but not for you. Okay. If you remember, there's a shadow of this in the. I'll read the next sentence and then you will see in Bhavani Bharti, okay, where he says that should I be very happy with conjugal life and should I be writing poetry and sitting in a comfortable home? Is that what I should do? But what's happening? My country, my mother, her blood is being sucked out. The Asura is sitting on her chest and drawing blood and drinking her blood. Then can I be like that comfortable? And very comfortable is my writing poetry and very pleasant things and live a happy conjugal life? He says that in the Bhavani Bharati. So this is exactly what he's telling him also here. Okay. What is the true object of the Kshatriya's life and the true happiness? Not self-pleasing and domestic happiness. That is for others, but not for a Kshatriya. And a life of comfort and peaceful joy with friends and relatives. But to battle for the right is his true object of life. And to find a cause for which he can lay down his life or by victory win the crown and the glory of the hero's existence. Even if the hero dies, he must die in a glorious manner. This is his greatest happiness. So, in fact, in a letter to Mrinalini also, he writes the same thing. He says, how can I rest content and be happy with a conjugal life if my mother is being, her blood is being sucked out? I have to stand up and fight for her. Okay. In fact, I'm going a little turning aside, as Srimdu is saying. Srimdu was the first to introduce into the idea of the fight for independence. He started associating religion with it. Not only religion, but spirituality. He is the first to do that. See your mother as the divine mother. See your country as a divine mother. So that's what he is telling the Kshatriya also here. Then he is explaining, and Srimdu is putting in double quotes because it's almost a quotation from the Gita. There is no greater good for the Kshatriya than righteous battle. And when such a battle comes to them of itself, like the open gate of heaven, happy are the Kshatriyas then. Everybody doesn't get an opportunity. War is not going on every day. Okay? But when the war comes, the Kshatriya can have the opportunity to fulfill his Swadharma. So you should be very happy instead of running away. That's what he's telling you. Okay? For which you can lay down the true object of life for a Kshatriya is to fight and for the right and the protection of the poor. The win the crown and glory of the hero's existence is his greatest happiness. There is no greater good for the Kshatriya than righteous battle, not the wrong battle. And when such a battle comes to them of itself, like the open gate of heaven, happy are the Kshatriyas then. If thou dost not this battle for the right, then thou hast abandoned thy duty and virtue and thy glory, and sin shall be thy portion. So in this case, if you don't act, morally you may be right in a certain sense, but you are a Kshatriya and non-action will be a sin for the Kshatriya. The sin is not in killing, but sin will be from withdrawing from that. It is the opposite. He will, by such a refusal, incur disgrace and the reproach of fear and weakness and the loss of his Kshatriya honor. What is worse grief for a Kshatriya? It is the loss of his honor, his fame, his noble station among the mighty men, the men of courage and power. That to him is much worse than death. So now he is listing the qualities of the Kshatriya: battle, courage, power, rule, the honor of the brave, the heaven of those who fall nobly, even those who die in battle. Nothing can be greater glory for them. The heaven of those who fall nobly. This is the warrior's ideal. To lower that ideal, to allow a smirch to fall on that honor, to give the example of a hero among heroes whose action lays itself open to the reproach of cowardice and weakness, and thus to lower the moral standard of mankind. Note the word moral standard. Now the Sri Krishna is coming down from a spiritual knowledge to the moral standard of mankind. He is to be false to himself and to the demand of the world on its leaders and kings. First a spiritual knowledge, then a practical knowledge of moral standards in the world. On both counts you have to fight, and to the demand of the world on its leaders and kings. Slain thou shalt win heaven, victorious thou shalt enjoy the earth. Therefore arise, O slain, O son of Kunti, resolved upon battle. Chapter 2, verse 37-38. Hato va prapsyasi swargam, jitva va mokshase mahim. Okay. Tasmad uttishtata kaunteya yuddhaya krita nischaya. Make up your mind and resolve for battle and come and get up. Don't sit down in a in a depressed condition. That's what they're saying. I might as well refer one interesting thing to you. Srimla translates battle, okay, the very first verse. He translated it as holiday of a fight. I think I've told you before, but this was really a puzzle to me. How is Srimla saying that the fight is a holiday? That's because the Kshatriya, when there is an opportunity of a battle for him, he is happy. He should be, here's an opportunity for me to exercise my work and my swadharma. So it's a holiday for him actually. That's why Shandas translates as a holiday of a fight. Very interesting. And the word smirch. Smirch means a stain or a taint, okay, a flaw, dirt, discredit. That's what it means. So you are allowing the purity of the Kshatriya to be stained, okay, with cowardice and loss of courage. So that you should not do. So this is the advice at a slightly practical level. Now, we go to the next para. Today we are able to finish the chapter. Yeah, somebody else now? Archana, we read? Maybe Sunki, you read today. Oh,
Yes, can I
Tarika,
read?
just one second. Tarika, you don't have to go to kindergarten?
Yeah, I have to. I have
Then?
to, but I'll finish the class and then go.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
For 2 weeks now, we had a program, so we could not miss the program practice and all that.
Oh, acha,
So,
acha.
yeah, I'll go at 8:30. I'll go.
Okay.
Yes.
Sunki, read this heroic appeal.
This heroic appeal may seem to be on a lower level than the Stoical spirituality, which precedes, and the deeper spirituality which follows. For in the next verse, the teacher bids him to make grief and happiness, loss and gain, victory and defeat equal to his soul, and then turn to the battle. The real teaching of the Gita. But Indian ethics has always seen the practical necessity of graded ideals for the developing moral and spiritual life of man. The Kshatriya ideal, the ideal of the full order, is here placed in its social aspect, not as afterwards in its spiritual meaning. This, says Krishna, in effect, is my answer to you if you insist on joy and sorrow and the result of your actions as your motive of action. I have shown you in what direction the highest knowledge of self and the world points you. I have now shown you in what direction your social duty and the ethical standard of your order points you. Swa, swadharmam api chapekshya. Whichever you consider, the result is the same. But if you are not satisfied with your social duty and the virtue of your order, if you think that leads you to sorrow and sin, then I bid you rise to a higher and not sink to a lower ideal. Put away all egoism from you, disregard joy and sorrow, disregard gain and loss, and all worldly results. Look only at the cause you must serve and the work that you must achieve by divine command. So thou shalt not incur sin. Thus Arjuna's plea of sorrow, his plea of the recoil from the slaughter, his plea of the sense of sin, his plea of the unhappy results of his action, are answered according to the highest knowledge and ethical ideals to which his race and age has attained.
Okay, so this is the answers. Now Surendra is explaining. He says that first he gave him spiritual knowledge, then he is giving him practical knowledge. There seems to be a drop in the standard of what he's asking, but actually it's not like that. It's a complete picture he is giving him. So we'll quickly read the paragraph and then we'll see. So, this heroic appeal, it is not something like normally you would advise a person, okay, don't fight, be peaceful, be calm, that's more important. Don't invite trouble into your life. This heroic appeal, but the Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, fight, stand up. Doesn't matter if you die, it will be a glorious death. Okay? This heroic appeal. But his problem is not his own death. Arjuna's problem is the death of others, his own, those who are close to him. So that also is a weakness. This heroic appeal may seem to be on the lower level. Because Srebda has in the previous first sentence of the previous paragraph, he says, turns aside. Okay? See the subtlety of the language. He then turns aside. But now he is saying very clearly, it seems to be on a lower level. From the spiritual level, he is telling him all about the soul, and now he is telling him about his, in the practical world, what he has to do. So may seem to be on a lower level than the stoical spirituality which precedes and the deeper spirituality which follows. So, what does this mean? Stoical spirituality? Stoic, one who is a stoic is, he is the one who bears the touches of the physical world. Bahya sparsha. He bears. Okay? He does not get disturbed either by praise or by sorrow, or by calumny or by praise, insult or praise. He is not affected at all. That's stoicism. It is a capacity to bear the impacts of life in the physical world without being affected. That is stoicism. So it's at a spiritual level it takes you to, which precedes. So that's the first one. Then after you get the stoical spirituality and you succeed in making yourself calm, then you go to the spiritual level. In the beginning, when you are at a lower level, level 1, you are trying to become absolutely unaffected by the impacts of the physical world, whether they be pain or pleasure. You are absolutely calm and quiet, impartial, and only witnessing without being affected. Once that is achieved, then you are in the level 2. You are in the deeper spirituality. For in the next verse, the teacher bids him to make his soul, teacher bids him to make grief and happiness, loss and gain, victory and defeat equal to his soul, and then turn to the battle. The real teaching of the Gita. Now note interestingly, first of all, the samatha is inside, not outside. Okay? It's for the equal to the soul. So first of all, you have to make your inner being absolutely calm. Even the inner being is not calm at all. Okay? For normal men. So first of all, you have to make your inner being calm. Then only you have to extend it to the outer being. And extending to the outer being is not easy. It can't be done so easily. It can be done only at the highest level, from the spiritual, from the supramental. It's possible to have that. Even from the second level, the higher levels of the second stage, it is possible to make yourself calm even outside. So then Swamdra is saying, making grief. Yeah, tell me.
Just 1 minute. Is there someone TL who is trying to join the other group? Who is TL in the group?
Right. I don't think I understood exactly what you're saying.
No, one person is trying to join the class, but with other.
No, Gita has joined.
Okay,
Gita
okay.
has joined that class.
That is Gitanjali.
Gita has joined.
Oh,
She has joined. Now we can continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's in Ladakh.
Oh, okay.
Okay, she has joined. Okay. So, defeat. So, that verse is 38, chapter 2, 38. Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avakshasi. If you do that and join the battle, then you will not be incurring sin. That's what the verse is saying. So that's what I'm saying. But Indian ethics, ethics is morality, okay, same. Indian ethics has always seen the practical necessity of graded ideals for the developing moral and spiritual life of man. So everything is not same, okay? For different grades and different swadharmas, the standards of conduct go on changing. Okay? So in the synthesis of yoga, Swami discussed this question very clearly. The standards of conduct. Okay, there are. I might just briefly mention them. The first is the standard of conduct for those who are at a very low level. That is, you have to develop yourself. When you are not developed and you have just graduated from the animal level, you have to develop your mind, you have to develop your capacities, you have to develop your sensibility, you must be open to beauty everywhere. So you have to develop yourself. And to develop yourself, you have to lean on yourself, your egoism. So that's a first standard of conduct. So that's valid for that man, may not be valid for others. The second standard of conduct is when you are being too egoistic, society will react because you may be disturbing your neighbor. Okay? And if you are disturbing your neighbor, society will say, you don't have the right to do that. You can't play music at midnight. and early morning at 5 o'clock, you can't through loudspeaker start your recitations from the Quran. In fact, that problem is there in India today. Okay, so they are stopping that. So society steps in. So society makes laws. The first is the human being is trying to develop himself. Perfectly valid. Ego was the helper, ego is the bar, as Surendra says. So at that level, ego is very justified. Motives of action are justified. But there is a limit to that. So when you go beyond your rightful action, then society steps in and says, no, you can't do that. You can do this and do it. That is purely conventional. Every society has got their own limited rules and regulations, and it differs from society to society. When one very good example is, you can't cross a traffic light. There's no question of good or bad in it. It's just a social law. Okay? If you do that, you're going to create confusion in society. You can't insult others, you can't do this, you can't tell lies, okay? You can't murder others, you are infringing upon the right of others. So that's social law. The third law is the moral law, ethics. The difference between the first and second is, the second is that society is telling you what you should do and cannot do. And as I said, it differs from country to country. But the third one, man becomes developed and he starts thinking and he says, it is not good to do this, it is not good to do that. Morality comes into the picture. And morality starts from the individual, not the society. And the individual, thinking that what he is saying is the right thing, imposes it on society. You can't do this, you can't do that. The 10 commandments, okay? Morality. Then the last standard of conduct is spiritual. No laws at all. You have to listen to the divine, whatever he is saying. And the divine may say something to someone and he'll say the opposite to somebody else. Okay? So that's exactly. Now, interestingly, you can see the spiritual law. Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna that he has to fight. Okay? And what happened to Swayamdev? Swayamdev was fighting for India's independence and he was told, and actually it is Sri Krishna who told him, stop this work, others will carry on the work, you go to Chandanagar and do some other work, spiritual work. So he was sent to Chandanagar and then to Pondicherry. So opposite instructions. And both were in the field of battle. Okay, so that's interesting. So it's not the mind that makes rules. This third law of conduct is mind makes the rules. All morality and ethics is mind made by the mind of man. But the spiritual law, the divine makes the laws for each one separately. That's the spiritual law. That's why you have anarchy. No rules at all. Total spiritual anarchy is the most harmonious. But social anarchy at our level is not. Okay? There can be a lot of, so society has to make rules. Okay, and now go back to the text. The Kshatriya ideal, the ideal of the four orders is here placed in its social aspect, not the spiritual aspect, but the social aspect. Okay. It has got a spiritual aspect which is not well understood at all. Even by modern India also it is not understood. The RSS and the BJP who think that we should go back to Indian culture, which is very fine, but they still look down upon the Shudras and they think of them as permanently impure. That idea has to disappear, and I hope it will disappear one day. Okay? So here, Srivda is saying the social aspect of the caste system is being discussed. Social aspect, not the spiritual aspect. Not as afterwards in its spiritual meaning. So that comes afterwards. This, says Krishna in effect, is my answer to you. If you insist on joy and sorrow and the result of your actions as your motive of action, if you say that you want peace and calm and the life of others you want to spare, then this is the advice I am giving you. And what's my advice? Fulfill your swadharma. Do what the divine is telling you to do. Do what the right action is. Don't run away from that. Now Sendo is continuing, he is putting the words in the mouth of Sri Krishna. Sendo is doing that. I have shown you in what direction the higher knowledge of self and the world points you. That's spiritual knowledge. I have now shown you in what direction your social duty and the ethical standard of your order point you. Swadharmam api chavekshya. Swadharmam, the work that you have to do in the physical world, cha avekshya, then seeing, avekshya, sorry, cha avekshya. Tarika, right?
Yeah.
Cha avekshya. Avek, to see, okay, to observe. Okay, so whichever you consider, the result is the same. Whether the spiritual aspect or the moral aspect, for you it's the same. But if you are not satisfied with your social duty and virtue of your order, if you think that leads you to sorrow and sin, then I bid you to rise to a higher and not sink to a lower ideal. That's the thing. If you are in a condition where you cannot escape your sorrow, then rise to a higher level. Don't be moral, go to a spiritual level. Put away all egoism from you. Disregard joy and sorrow. Disregard gain and loss and all the worldly results. Look only at the cause you must serve and the work that you must achieve by divine command. So thou shalt not incur sin. Thus, Arjuna's plea, he is pleading that sorrow I am going to cause, that's not right. His plea of the recoil from slaughter, his plea of the sense of sin, his plea of the unhappy results of his action, his pleading are answered according to the highest knowledge of his ethical ideals to which his race and age had attained. So at that time, the swadharma of the caste system had to be maintained. Chandra is very clearly saying to which his race and age. You see, in time also in history, these standards go on varying. We say that today also, that you go from one level of understanding to another level. That is happening even now in the physical world. We have got many interesting examples for that. I won't go into that, but we have discussed that long ago. Ideas which you felt were absolutely correct at one time, they are not valid anymore. Okay? So, you become more and more wise as you go on going higher and higher. So that completes the, and now we have 15 minutes more, so we can definitely go to the last para. Who will read? Tarika, you read because you're a rare bird nowadays.
No, now I'll be now I'll be there Only for that short period because of the program I had to go.
Acha, acha, acha. Okay.
Yeah.
So read the last para.
Yeah. It is the creed of the Aryan fighter. Know God, it says. Know thyself. Help man. Protect the right. Do without fear or weakness or faltering thy work of battle in the world. Thou art the eternal and imperishable spirit. Thy soul is here on its upward path to immortality. Life and death are nothing. Sorrow and wounds and suffering are nothing. For these things have to be conquered and overcome. Look not at thy own pleasure and gain and profit, but above and around. Above at the shining summits to which thou climbest. Around at this world of battle and trial in which good and evil, progress and retrogression are locked in stern conflict. Men call to thee, their strong man, their hero for help. Help them, fight. Destroy then by destruction the world must advance, but hate not that which thou destroyest, neither grieve for all those who perish. Know everywhere the one self, know all to be immortal souls, and the body to be but dust. Do thy work with a calm, strong, and equal spirit. Fight and fall nobly, or conquer mightily. For this is the work that God and thy nature have given to thee to accomplish.
This whole para almost from the beginning is in quotes, but it's not a translation. It is Sri Aurobindo giving his own ideas through Sri Krishna. Remember that Sri Krishna and descended into Sri Aurobindo. Okay, so there is a great, not only affinity, but it's almost an identity between them. So he has a full right to do that. Okay, so it's very interesting what he's saying. And also, while I was reading this, suddenly I remembered how really fighting for an ideal, you can be happy even if you know that you are going to end in death. Okay, it's a slightly a different subject, but it's worth mentioning here. These boys in that Maniktala garden, which the Indian history absolutely ignores. Sri Aurobindo's Maniktala garden, they were practicing guns and shooting and all that. And there were very young boys there, 18-year-old, 17-year-old boys. And they once wanted to kill one of the English officials. And he said they made a mistake. They didn't make a mistake, but the program changed and the carriage was containing only European women, English women. And they got killed. So they were awarded the capital punishment. But when this boy, Prafulla Chaki, okay, the other boy, when he was about to be arrested, shot himself dead. But Prafulla Chaki was arrested, and when he was hanged, it is said that he put on weight 2-3 days before he was so happy and he is smiling. And just before the noose was put on his head, he actually recited the Bhagavad Gita, okay, lines from the Bhagavad Gita. Such was his courage. So that is the ideal of the Kshatriya that Shri Krishna is advising to Arjuna. So it's possible. We may feel that when you faced with death, you start trembling, but not the heroic soul. They are fantastic. So I read the last para now and we'll finish the chapter. It is the creed of the Aryan fighter. Know God. What is the creed of the Aryan fighter? Aryan fighter. He is talking only the Kshatriya. Know God, it says. Know thyself and help man. Helping man is the protect the right. This is the Swadharma of the Kshatriya. His ruling, okay, governance, okay, protecting the poor. That's his work. Protect the right, do without fear or weakness or faltering thy work of battle in the world. Thou art the eternal and imperishable spirit. That's what he has already told him first. Thy soul is here on its upward path to immortality. This is an evolution for the individual as well as the universal. But your soul is slowly developing and going towards immortality. Life and death are nothing. Sorrow and wounds and suffering are nothing. For these things have to be conquered and overcome. Look not at thy own pleasure and gain and profit, but above and around. So, but above and around, you have to repeat the word look. Look not at thy own pleasure and gain and profit, but look above and around. So, often elides, he removes and he does not repeat the word that you have to supply yourself. So, here is an example. Look not at thy own pleasure and gain and profit, but look, you have to supply that word, above and around. Above at the shining summits to which thou climbest, the superconscious planes. Around at this word, the cosmic, around of battle and trial. The world is full of difficulties, trial, in which good and evil, progress and retrogression are locked in stern conflict. These are the dualities. In the physical world, the dualities are always there, and all the dualities are valid. It's not that they are not valid. Men call to thee, their strong man, their hero for help. Help then, fight, destroy, when by destruction the world must advance. But hate not that which thou destroyest. That's the whole problem with violence. We always feel that violence is bad because 90% of the time it is with hate and anger that the violence is done. That's why we feel. But it's very possible to do something, destroy something uh, without being angry and without having hate. Neither grieve for all those who perish, because they don't die. Only the bodies die. Know everywhere the one self. This is a cosmic consciousness. When you know everywhere yourself, you see in everybody else, that's a cosmic consciousness. Level 2, okay, not level 1. Know all to be immortal souls and the body to be but dust. The body is something that is temporary. Do thy work with a calm, strong, and equal spirit. Fight and fall nobly or conquer mightily. For this is the work that God and thy nature have given to thee to accomplish. Look, very interesting. Is the work that God is giving you, and you have to do that. In Sri Krishna's case, it is God Himself who is giving the work of destruction to Arjuna. And in Sri Aurobido's case also, it was Sri Krishna, God Himself, who told him, okay, you have fought enough, now go and do spiritual work. I am going to give you spiritual work. Go to Pondicherry. Okay, so that comes. But now look at one thing, okay. He's saying in this last sentence, do thy work with a calm, strong, equal spirit. So this is the theme that he will take up in the next chapter. In the next chapter, you have the philosophy of Sankhya and Yoga. And the Sankhya method is separate yourself. Let the Purusha separate itself from Prakriti. That's it. So, equality is one of the main ideas of Sankhya. So, he goes into that. Okay. So, we have
Rangada, one question.
Yeah, tell me.
God and thy nature. So that is Swabhava, no? The last sentence.
God,
for this is the work that God and thy nature.
Yeah.
That is Swabhava.
Yeah, for this is the work that God and thy nature. Yeah. See, work that God has given you is your Swabhava, and thy nature, okay, the fulfillment of your Swabhava in the physical world. Na? Nature necessarily means body, mind, life. And that would then come down to the Swadharma. No? So this is the work that God and thy nature have given. When God is giving the work,
Is it the Swadharma? Swadharma, I
Thy
think.
nature is no, what God has given is
nature.
Swabhava.
Okay. It's interesting what you have raised the
The
question.
work, na, because he's talking of the work.
Yeah,
That is
that's
why
right.
it is Swadharma.
Yeah, the
I
work.
think
Nature according-
it is a fusion of Swadharma and Swabhava.
Yeah,
It's
Swabhava is not a word.
according,
No,
according to the
thy nature is swabhava, no? Because that is my nature, right? Swabhava,
yeah,
Nature of the soul. Nature of the soul is
nature
Swabhava.
of the soul.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the nature of the nature of the nature, which is the body, mind, life, that is the work given to you. God gives you a nature of the soul. The soul is given a characteristics. It could be one of knowledge, it could be one of courage and battle, and it could be one of splendor and beauty and production and wealth and splendor, or it could be the work of absolute obedience and humility. So this is the swabhava. That's the spiritual basis of the caste system. So, and each
So,
one has got,
Rangada,
yeah.
so the swadharma depends on swabhava. It's not the other way around.
No, that's right. The swabhava is the main. The
yes.
swabhava is the main. What is your
You
soul's
discover your swabhav and the work you do according to your swabhav, trying to fulfill what work has been given to you by God is your swadharma.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
First, you have to discover your swabhav and then the swadharma.
that's right. Okay, so
So,
then,
Rangada,
yeah, tell me.
so in a nutshell, we can put it that the swabhava of the soul is to know and observe, no reaction.
No,
No, not
that is different. The nature of the soul is not action. It is the what divine has given your soul. Okay, how he has made you. That is the characteristics of the soul. He gives you a, a character. Your character is very fit for knowledge. Then you are a Brahmin. Your soul is ready for courage. Okay, and perseverance and determination, then um, you are a Kshatriya, okay? Or if you are in for wealth and splendor, okay, and production, okay, variety, that's a Vaishya. So,
Okay.
the, what you are saying, Shilpa, the is applicable to everybody in the physical world. You have to become absolutely equal to everything. So whether you are a Kshatriya or a Brahmin or a Vaishya or a Shudra, if you want to do spiritual work, not otherwise, only if you want to do spiritual work, you have to apply the principle of equality, samata. It doesn't apply to the others. Only when you want to do yoga, you have to do that. I want to go from level 1 to level 2, that is yoga. Then you have to go into equality. That applies to everybody. Okay, so now he takes up the Sankhya and Yoga, and there are two. Sankhya is an independent philosophy, and Yoga here is Karma Yoga. But in the Gita, both are taken in a slightly different sense. That's what Srinath is going to explain to us here. Okay, so it's 8:34. So we'll start this next time. Sankhya and Yoga. It's flowing directly from the principle of equality. Okay? In the Sankhya philosophy, the main yogic principle is once you, pardon?
on the land is born.
Okay. You have to um, uh, you have to have equality, and that is the main idea comes from the Sankhya philosophy. Let the Purusha separate itself from Prakriti. Okay, your soul has to disengage itself from the body, mind, life. That's the first stage, and then you become calm and quiet. And when you become calm and quiet, then you can attain to level 2, which is the spiritual planes of consciousness. You may not have power there, but you attain peace and calm. Okay, so we'll take that up next time. Okay, so Sonki, Make a note. Okay. Chapter
Merci
Sankhya.
beaucoup, Rangada.
Okay. So we'll discuss Sankhya and
What's your
Yoga
name?
very briefly, and then we'll start reading the chapter. Okay.
Merci beaucoup.
Au revoir, everybody.
Au revoir.
Thank you, Rangada.
Have a nice day, all of you.
Thank you, Rangada.